All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Sabbath. Hope everybody's having a good Sabbath. We went through Luke chapters 1 through 5 last time. There's one thing I wanted to show you, but I didn't get to it last time. I've got a link below for from translations of early manuscripts. You can look on here like Luke. There's different manuscripts they found. You got a picture of it, the approximate date, where it was found, what it contains. And you can also go to book and chapter view, same as the same translator that did the DSS English Bible that we read from did this also. But you can go to Luke here and just kind of look through, like here's chapter 1. So this word's missing. This word's missing in the manuscript from our modern translations. So you can go to Luke chapter 2, chapter 3. Quite a few are not translated yet, but that's why it's very useful to be able to read Greek, but some people can. See, you'll notice that's not translated yet either. But anyways, I wanted to go and show you that. And also, there's another website here. I put a link below. It's HebrewGospels.com. They have a YouTube channel with some videos. But these here they found, apparently they can prove these are authentic manuscripts. Not like a lot of the so-called Hebrew Gospels that are translated from the Greek. These are original copies. Luke is not translated yet. They're still working on that. I think they got it translated, but they're still working on it. And they also have, so they got John translated, Mark translated, Matthew translated, Revelation, James, and Jude, if you want to check that out. And these are really good. I've read all of them. I own all of them. They have them on Amazon where you can purchase them. I'll show you right quick. And before we get into it, I read John today again. So you'll see it there. That's what it looks like. The print copy. You got Gospel of Mark and Gospel of Matthew. And you'll even read in the early church writings, 100, 200 AD, they say Matthew was written in Hebrew. Well, newer Hebrew, not original Hebrew. And then Revelation, James, and Jude. And what you'll notice in these is they resolve some contradictions that you'll find in the Greek Gospels. Some of the translation issues. So it makes more sense. So with that said, wish I could read them on there. I may be able to email them and see if I can read some of these. I try to be careful with what I share on here because I don't want to copy stuff and read stuff I'm not supposed to. So, but yeah, those are pretty cool. All right, so I've got Luke 6 pulled up in the Thompson translation and Luke 6 in the interlinear. Also the World English Bible, KJV, Luke 1560 Geneva Bible.com, PDF. Got Brent Septuagint, Dead Sea Scrolls, Fragments, Samaritan Pentateuch. And Let's see. Yep. So, all right. So Luke chapter 6. It happened as he was walking through cornfields on a Sabbath called Second Prime. Not sure why it says that. That his disciples plucked the ears of corn and having rubbed out the grains with their hands began to eat. If you go to the interlinear, it says, it came to pass then on a Sabbath, passing along. So it just says a Sabbath. Word English says the second Sabbath after the first. KJV says second Sabbath after the first. And second Sabbath, 1560 Geneva. So second Sabbath. Upon which some of the Pharisees said to them, Why do ye that which is not lawful on Sabbath days? Why do you do that which is not lawful on Sabbath days? Thereupon Yahushua, addressing them, said, and I'll take a minute just to show they've replaced this. As far as I understand, his name is Yahushua. The Father's name is Yahuwah. And if you go to, just do a quick Strong's Concordance search for Lord, and you'll notice the Jews have they say the name is too holy to pronounce, so they have a replacement name theology, superstition. All the ancient writings, you'll see the prophets and the patriarchs said his name. But if you go to see Lord here, and most modern translations, or most translations, will tell you they replace his name with Lord all through the scripture. So see, in the scripture 6,500 times they have Lord. They replaced his name. And this is Jehovah here. And Jehovah is unpronounced except with the vowel pointings. So you'll see Jehovah is Lord. And so you go to Exodus 6:3. Go here, Jehovah. Just go down to Jehovah. Click there, Lord. They call him Lord. And when you go to, also, hang on a second. Where's it at? I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do want to share. Let's see. So you got Lord, Jehovah, unpronounced except with the vowel pointings. So if Jehovah is a replacement name, it's not the name. And you'll see here, Jesus, in the Greek, Iesus. And they tell you, Jesus equals Jehovah's salvation. So Lord is salvation, and Lord ain't even his name. So how can Jesus be his son's name when he come in his Father's name? Where's that at? Let's see. So he said, I am come in my Father's name. Lord ain't it. And if Jehovah is Lord, and if Jesus is Jehovah is salvation, then that ain't coming in his Father's name. This is another name. Another come in his own name, him you shall receive. And also, one other thing, in Hebrew, Baal, they had a big issue with Baal. Let's see. Where's it at? Nope, wrong one. That's not it. you go to, here we go, Judges 2:13. So you go here, and you go to Baal. See Baal? Baal means Lord. So who are they worshiping? Lord Baal, supreme male divinity of the Phoenicians or Canaanites. Who they have an issue with in the land? Canaanites. That's the land they took over. Anyways, thereupon Yahusha addressing them said, have you never read what David did, when he and his attendants were hungry, how he went to the house of Yahuwah and took the presence loaves and ate thereof and gave to his attendants, which none but the priests are allowed to eat. Then he told them that the Son of Man is Lord, Master, even of the Sabbath. It happened also on another Sabbath. So when you read what David did, see, they said it's not lawful, and he agreed. He didn't say, no, you're wrong, it is lawful. He said, did you read what David did? So they were right. It's not lawful to do that on Sabbath. But then you have to check and see what he wrote. Alright, so go to 1 Samuel 21. This is what the Messiah referenced. And the priest answered David. Let's go back to 21:3. 21:2. Okay. And David said unto Ahimelech the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days. That's very important. Since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, so abstaining from sex 3 days, vessels are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before Yahuwah, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So you go back, and that's what the Messiah referenced. So the disciples were allowed to pluck the ears of corn and rub out the grains with their hands and eat, because they had been kept from women for 3 days. And they were breaking the Sabbath, but they were held guiltless. That's what that means. How he went to the house of Yahuwah and took the presence loaves and eat. Then he told them that the Son of Man is Master even of the Sabbath. It happened also on another Sabbath, when he went to the synagogue and taught, that there was a man there whose right hand was withered. And the scribes and the Pharisees watched him to see whether he would perform a cure on the Sabbath day, that they might find matter of accusation against him. Now he knew their thoughts. Therefore, when he had said to the man who had the withered hand, rise and stand in the midst, and he had risen and was standing there, Yahushua said to them, let me ask you, what is allowable on the Sabbath days, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy? Then having looked around on them all, he said to the man, stretch forth thy hand, and he did so, and his hand was restored sound as the other. Upon this they were filled with madness, and spoke one to another what they should do to Yahushua. Now about that time he went out to the mountain to pray, and spent the whole night in a place set apart for prayer to Yahuwah. So yes, it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath. And when it was day, he called together his disciples, and out of them chose 12, whom he named apostles: Simon, whom he surnamed Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James son of Alphaeus, and Simon surnamed Zelotes, Judas the brother of James, and Judas Iscariot, even he who was a traitor. And having come down with them, he stopped in a plain with a crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of the people from all Judea and Jerusalem and the coast of Tyre and Sidon, who had come to hear him and to be cured of their diseases. Even they who were infested by unclean spirits were also cured, and the whole multitude sought to touch him, because power went forth from him and healed all. Then lifting up his eyes on his disciples, he said, Happy you who are poor, for the kingdom of Yahuwah is yours. Happy you who hunger now, for you shall be satisfied. Happy ye who weep now, for you will laugh. Happy are you when men will hate you, even when they will discard and reproach you, and expose your name as infamous on the account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward in heaven is great. For thus their fathers treated the prophets. But alas, for you who are rich, for you who are receiving your consolation. Alas for you who are filled, for you shall hunger. Alas for you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Alas for you when all men speak well of you, for thus their fathers did to the false prophets. But I charge you, my hearers, love your enemies, do good to them who hate you, bless them who curse you, and pray for them who spitefully abuse you. To him who smiteth thee on one cheek, present also the other. And from him who taketh thy mantle, withhold not thy coat. Give to everyone who asketh thee, and from him who taketh away thy goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish men to do to you, do you even so to them. If you indeed love them who love you, what thanks are you entitled to? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to them who do good to you, what thanks are you entitled to? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to them from whom you hope to receive, what thanks are you entitled to? For even sinners lend to sinners, that they may receive as much in return. But love your enemies and do good and lend without any mistrust, and your reward will be great. That's interesting. Lend without any mistrust. 36. Lend nothing, expecting nothing in return. Expecting nothing back. It is, let's see here. Love your enemies and do good and lend, looking for nothing again. Your reward shall be great. You shall be children of the Most High, for he is kind unto the unkind and to the evil. Luke 6 here. And Luke 6, according to Papyrus 4 found, it does not have second in there. It does not have after the first. It says, now on the Sabbath, he was going through the grain fields. Yep, and it says showbread. Presence bread, same thing. To save life or to destroy. Lend expecting nothing back. Be therefore merciful, even as your Father is merciful. Furthermore, judge not that so you may not be judged. Condemn not that so you may not be condemned. Forgive and you shall be forgiven. Give and to you will be given into your lap. There shall be given good measure, pressed down and shaken and running over. For with the same measure which you mete to others, you shall have measure returned to you. Then he spake a parable to them. Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a pit? A scholar is not above his teacher, but every one will be instructed as his teacher is. Now why beholdest thou the mote which is in thy brother's eye, and perceivest not the splinter which is in thine own eye? Or how canst thou say to thy brother, Hold, brother, let me take out the mote which is in thine eye, not considering that there is a splinter in thine own eye? Hypocrite, first take the splinter out of thine own eye, and then thou wilt see clearly to take out the mote which is in thy brother's eye. That indeed is not a good tree which beareth bad fruit, nor is that a bad tree which beareth good fruit. For every tree is known by its fruit. For figs are not gathered from thorns, nor grapes from a bramble bush. The good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and the bad man out of the bad treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is bad. For from the overflowing of the heart the mouth speaketh. Now why do you call me Master, Master, when you do not what I command? With regard to every one who cometh to me, and hearkeneth to my words, and doth them, I will tell you to whom he is like. He is like a man building a house, who digged deep and laid a foundation on the rock. And when a flood came, the current beat against that house, but could not shake it, because it was founded on the rock. But he who hath heard and hath not practiced is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation, against which the current beat impetuously, and presently it fell, and great was the ruin of that house. Proverbs. Where's it at? $24, $14. Yeah, I think that's it. Proverbs 24. Through wisdom is a house builded, and by understanding it is established. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increaseth strength. For by wise counsel shalt thou make thy war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too high for a fool, foolish man. He openeth not his mouth in the gate. He that deviseth to do evil shall be called a mischievous person. The thought of foolishness is sin, that's transgression of the law, and the scorner is an abomination to men. If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. If thou forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain. If thou sayest, Behold, we knew it not, doth not he that pondereth the heart consider it? And he that keepeth thy soul, doth not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works? Keep his word. My son, eat thou honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to thy taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. When thou hast found it, then there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. Lay not in wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place. For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth, lest Yahuwah see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. Fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked, for there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out. My son, fear thou Yahuwah and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change. For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both? These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment. He that saith unto the wicked, Thou art righteous, him shall the people curse, nations shall abhor him. But to them that rebuke him shall be delight, and a good blessing shall come upon them. Oh, let's see. Great was the ruin of that house. When he was like a man, is like a man building a house who dug and went deep and laid a foundation on the rock. When a flood arose, the stream broke against that house and could not shake it. But he who hears and doesn't do is like a man who built a house on the earth without a foundation, and against which the stream broke and immediately fell, and the ruin of that house was great. Now when he had finished all these things, Luke chapter 7, in the hearing of the people, he went to Capernaum, where a certain centurion's servant, who was dear to his master, was sick and at the point of death. And the centurion, having heard of Yahusha, had sent to him the elders of the Jews with a request that he would come and cure his servant. It's going to be, let's see. Jews. Ludeon. And when they came to Yahusha, they pressed him earnestly, saying, He is worthy of this favor, for he loveth our nation, and it was he who built the synagogue for us. So Yahusha went with them, but when he was now at no great distance from the house, the centurion sent friends to him, saying, Sir, trouble not thyself, for I am not worthy that thou shouldst come under my roof. And for that reason I did not think myself worthy to come to thee. Say but a word, and my servant will be healed. For even I, who am a man subject to authority, having soldiers under me, say to one, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my slave, Do this, and he doeth it. When Yahusha heard this, he admired him, and turning to the multitude that followed him, he said, I say to you, I have not found such an instance of faith even in Israel. Thompson. This is the first time I read the Thompson translation. It's kind of, I tell you, I have not found such great faith. No, not in Israel. Great faith, instance of faith. Thompson's kind of wonky. Let's see, 9. Yahusha marveled at him, and having turned and following him, the crowd, he said, I say to you, not even in Israel such great faith did I find. Such an instance of faith. Why would he translate it like that? It's weird. Let's go to verse 10. Those who were sent returning to the house found that the servant who had been sick was well. Soon afterwards he went to a city called Nain. Many of his disciples, along with a great multitude, went with him. Now when he came near to the gate of the city, behold, one who was dead was carried out, the only born son of his mother, and she was a widow. Many people of the city were with her. When Yahusha saw her, he had compassion on her and said to her, Don't cry. He came near and touched the coffin, and the bearers stood still. He said, Young man, I tell you, arise. He who was dead sat up and began to speak. Then he gave him to his mother. Fear took hold of all, and they glorified Yahuwah, saying, A great prophet has arisen among us, and Yahuwah has visited his people. This report went out concerning him in the whole of Judea and all the surrounding region. The disciples of John told him about all these things. John, calling to himself 2 of his disciples, and sent them to Yahusha, saying, Are you the one who is coming, or should we look for another? When the men had come to him, they said, John the Baptizer has sent us to you, saying, Are you he who comes, or should we look for another? In that hour he cured many of diseases and plagues and evil spirits, and to many who were blind he gave sight. Yahusha answered them, Go and tell John the things which you have seen and heard, that the blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised up, the poor have good news preached to them. Blessed is he who finds no occasion for stumbling in me. When John's messengers had departed, he began to tell the multitudes about John. What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind. But what did you go out to see? See John in the wilderness. You'll have to forgive me. I know I don't shut up about this, but it's major. Major. Desert above the Dead Sea. Dead Sea Scrolls. Wilderness of Judea. Let's see if I can illustrate it a little bit better. Dead Sea Scrolls found. Map. There you go. So, let's see. Yeah, see a star there, star there, star there, star there, star there, star there, star there. Okay. And this could have been a little bit different back then, 2,000 years ago, but it's very close. So you go to Wilderness of Judea. Here's the 1904 map. The older the map is, a little bit more accurate. They've messed a lot of things up. So you got, let's see, Judah, Jordan, Dead Sea. I can zoom in better. Alright. Oh. Jerusalem. See the Jordan. Messiah was baptized at the Jordan. There's the sea. And you got... I'm not an expert at reading maps. Yeah, you'll see. Yeah, here you go. This is a little... See, desert, 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 wilderness right here. Right along the Dead Sea. See, right on the side right there. Oh, there we go. Where's it at? Yeah, you go back. See where the wilderness is at? All on the side here. Now these down here are a little more questionable. I don't know if they may have migrated south, or it might have been another group. John's up here at the Jordan, so you'll see there, and then the wilderness all the way down where all the scrolls are found. So, a reed shaken by the wind. But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft clothing? Behold, those who are gorgeously dressed and live delicately are in king's courts. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and much more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you. Of whom it is written. Anytime you see that, you know they're quoting a Bible scripture. So it's best to go and read what they're referencing to get better understanding. Malachi 3:1. Let's go to the Septuagint. Malachi. Behold, I send forth my messenger, and he shall survey the way before me. And Yahuwah, whom you seek, shall suddenly come into his temple, even the angel of the covenant, whom you take pleasure in. Behold, he is coming, saith Yahuwah Almighty. And who will abide the day of his coming, or who will stand at his appearing? For he is coming in as a fire of a furnace, and the herb of fullers. He shall sit to melt and purify, as it were silver, and as it were gold. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and refine them as gold and silver, and they shall offer to Yahuwah an offering in righteousness. Sounds like the second coming. Sounds a lot like the second coming. For I tell you, among those who are born of women, there is not a greater prophet than John the Baptizer. Yet he who is least in Yahuwah's kingdom is greater than he. And near Qumran, they also found a town that had pools built into it, so baptismals built into the town. When all the people and the tax collectors heard this, they declared Yahuwah to be just, having been baptized with John's baptism. But the Pharisees and the lawyers rejected the counsel of Yahuwah, not being baptized by him themselves. The counsel of... To what then should I compare the people of this generation? What are they like? They are like children who sit in the marketplace and call to one another, saying, We piped to you and you didn't dance. We mourned and you didn't weep. For John the Baptizer came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and you say he has a demon. The Son of Man has come eating and drinking, and you say, Behold, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Wisdom is justified by all her children. One of the Pharisees invited him to eat with him. He entered into the Pharisee's house and sat at the table. Behold, a woman in the city who was a sinner, whom she knew that he was reclining in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster jar of ointment. Standing behind at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears, and she wiped them with the hair of her head, kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee who had invited him saw it, he said to himself, This man, if he were a prophet, would have perceived who and what kind of woman this is who touches him, that she is a sinner. Yahushua answered him, Simon, I have something to tell you. He said, Teacher, say on. A certain lender had 2 debtors. The one owed 500 denarii, and the other 50. When they couldn't pay, he forgave them both. Which of them, therefore, will love him most? Simon answered, He, I suppose, to whom he forgave the most. He said to him, You have judged correctly. Turning to the woman, he said to Simon, Do you see this woman? I entered into your house, and you gave me no water for my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears, and wiped them with the hair of her head. You gave me no kiss, but since the time I came in, has not ceased to kiss my feet. You didn't anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with ointment. Therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But one to whom little is forgiven, loves little. He said to her, Your sins are forgiven. Those who sat at the table with him began to say to themselves, Who is this who even forgives sins? He said to the woman, Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Oh, they got it down here. Malachi 3:1. Yep. So, verse chapter 8. Nothing translated there. Luke 8. No sparkling water. All right, Luke chapter 8. Soon afterwards he went about through cities and villages, preaching and bringing the good news of Yahuwah's kingdom. With him were the 12 and certain women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities. See how these two often go together? In the Dead Sea Scrolls it says there's a fever demon and there's a chill demon, and there's a demon that strikes at noonday and a demon that strikes in the night. So there are different classes of demons. And Jubilees tells you that the wickedness of man causes the evil spirits to oppress them. That's why he was healing people and casting out demons. Mary, who was called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, and Joanna, the wife of Huzas, Herod's steward, Susanna, and many others who served them from their possessions. When a great multitude came together, and people from every city were coming to him, he spoke by a parable. The farmer went out to sow his seed. As he sowed, some fell along the road, and it was trampled underfoot, and the birds of the sky devoured it. Other seed fell on the rock, and as soon as it grew, it withered away, because it had no moisture. Other fell amid the thorns, and the thorns grew with it and choked it. Other fell into the good ground, and grew and produced 100 times as much fruit. As he said these things, he called out, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." Then his disciples asked him, "What does this parable mean?" He said, "To you it is given to know the mysteries of God's kingdom, but to the rest it is given in parables, that seeing they may not see, and hearing they may not understand. Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of God. Those along the road are those who hear. Then the devil comes and takes away the word from their heart, that they may not believe and be saved. Those on the rock are they who, when they hear, receive the word with joy, but these have no root. They believe for a while, then fall away in the time of temptation. What fell among the thorns, these are those who have heard, and as they go on their way, they are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of life, and they bring no fruit to maturity. Those in the good ground, those are those who, with an honest and good heart, having heard the word, hold it tightly and produce fruit with perseverance. No one have fruit with perseverance. That would probably be this group of people. Revelation 14:12, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahuwah and the faith of Yahusha. Produce fruit with perseverance. What's fruit? Psalm 1. Psalms 1. Blessed is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the ungodly, and has not stood in the way of sinners, and has not sat in the seat of evil men. But his pleasure is in the law of Yahuwah, and in his law will he meditate day and night. He shall be as a tree planted by the brooks of waters, which shall yield fruit in its season, and its leaf shall not fall off, and whatsoever he shall do shall be prospered. Not so the ungodly, not so, but rather as the chaff which the wind scatters away from the face of the earth. Therefore the ungodly shall not rise in the judgment, nor sinners in the counsel of the just. For Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. And some will say Galatians also, which is correct, but it doesn't negate Psalms. They go hand in hand. So Galatians 5:22. So let's see. Nope, not translated yet. Oh, no. So we're on verse 15. See here. But if you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. Paul says in Romans, the law is spiritual. Now the deeds of the flesh are obvious, which are adultery, sexual immorality, uncleanness, lustfulness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, strife, jealousies, outbursts of anger, rivalries, divisions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these, of which I forewarn you, even as I also forewarned you that those who practice such things will not inherit God's kingdom. Works of the flesh. So if the law is spiritual, the law is not flesh. So when Paul says you're not under the law, be careful not to twist that into lawlessness. So the works of the flesh are against the law. But the fruit of the Spirit, if the law is spiritual, that would be the fruit of the Spirit, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. That's because that is lawful. The law is against these things. Those who belong to Messiah have crucified the flesh with its passions and lusts. If we live by the Spirit, let's also walk by the Spirit. Let's not become conceited, provoking one another, and envying one another. There's a lot to do that. We don't need to do that. Live by the Spirit. So, let's see. 2 Peter 3:15 through 17, it says, be careful not to twist Paul into lawlessness. No one, when he has lit a lamp, covers it with a container or puts it under a bed, but puts it on a stand, that those who enter in may see the light. For nothing is hidden that will not be revealed, nor anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Be careful, therefore, how you hear. For whoever has, to him will be given, and whoever doesn't have, from him will be taken away even that which he thinks he has. His mother and brothers came to him, and they could not come near him for the crowd. Some people told him, your mother and your brothers stand outside desiring to see you. And let me go back to this right quick. You'll see the light here. In the older scriptures. See, Isaiah 8:20 tells you, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, is because there's no light in them. Proverbs 6:23, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the way of life. The way. Keywords. The light. Come to the light. But he answered them, my mother and my brothers are these who hear the word of Yahuwah and do it. The commandments, the word. Now on one of those days he entered into a boat, himself and his disciples, and he said to them, let's go over to the other side of the lake. So they launched out, but as they sailed, he fell asleep. A windstorm came down on the lake, and they were taking on dangerous amounts of water. They came to him and awoke him, saying, Master, Master, we are dying. He awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water. Then they ceased, and it was calm. He said to them, where is your faith? Being afraid, they marveled, saying to one another, who is this then that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him? Then they arrived at the country of the Gadarenes, which is opposite Galilee. When Yahushua stepped ashore, a certain man out of the city who had demons for a long time met him. He wore no clothes and didn't live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Yahushua, he cried out and fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, what do I have to do with you, Yahushua, you son of the Most High God, or Most High Elohim? I beg you, don't torment me. For Yahushua was commanding the unclean spirit to come out of the man, for the unclean spirit had often seized the man, He was kept under guard and bound with chains and fetters, breaking the bonds apart. He was driven by the demon into the desert. Yahusha asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "Legion," for many demons had entered into him. They begged him that he would not command them to go into the abyss. Now there was a herd of many pigs feeding on the mountain, and they begged him that he would allow them to enter into those. Then he allowed them. The demons came out of the man and entered into the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Yep. There's a reason why pigs are unclean, and that's where the demons go. If you go to Isaiah 66, Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14 tells you pigs are unclean food. They're not food. But Isaiah 65 and 66, verse 17, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination in the mouth, shall be consumed together. That is end times prophecy. This is the second coming and the second Exodus. They shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahuwah out of all nations, to my holy mountain Jerusalem. So he sent the demons into the pigs. When those who fed them saw what had happened, they fled and told it in the city and in the country. People went out to see what had happened. They came to Yahusha and found the man from whom the demons had gone out, sitting at Yahusha's feet, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who saw it told them how he who had been possessed by demons was healed. All the people of the surrounding country of the Gadarenes asked him to depart from them, for they were very much afraid. Then he entered into the boat and returned, but the man from whom the demons had gone out begged him that he might go with him. But Yahusha sent him away, saying, "Return to your house and declare what great things Yahuwah has done for you." He went his way, proclaiming throughout the whole city what great things Yahusha had done for him. When Yahusha returned, the multitude welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. Behold, a man named Jairus came. He was a ruler of the synagogue. He fell down at Yahusha's feet and begged him to come into his house, for he had an only born daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. But as he went, the multitudes pressed against him. A woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her living on physicians and could not be healed by any, came behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak, and immediately the flow of her blood stopped. Fringe or tassel. Numbers chapter 16, tassels. See, he walked in the commandments perfectly. And if it wasn't a big deal, why'd he do it? So it is Numbers, let's see. I thought it was 23. Numbers 15:23. Nope. Tassel, fringe, hem. 15:39. There we go. Or 38. Speaking of the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a riband of blue. It shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahuwah and do them, that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a whoring, that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your Yahuwah. I am Yahuwah your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. I think in the KJV it says him. Yeah, the hem of his garment. Hem of his garment. Matthew. Let's see. fringe. Yeah. Here they have it translated fringe. So she touched it, and her flow of blood stopped. Yahusha said, "Who touched me?" When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, "Master, the multitudes press and jostle you, and you say, 'Who touched me?' But Yahusha said, 'Someone did touch me, for I perceive that power has gone out of me.' When the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him, declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason why she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. He said to her, 'Daughter, cheer up. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace.' While he still spoke, one from the ruler of the synagogue's house came, saying to him, 'Your daughter is dead. Don't trouble the teacher.' But Yahusha, hearing it, answered him, 'Don't be afraid, only believe, and she will be healed.' When he came to the house, he didn't allow anyone to enter in except Peter, John, James, and the father of the child and her mother. All were weeping and mourning her, but he said, 'Don't weep. She isn't dead, but sleeping.' They were ridiculing him, knowing that she was dead, but he put them all outside, and taking her by the hand, he called, saying, 'Child, arise.' Her spirit returned, and she rose up immediately. He commanded that something be given to her to eat. Her parents were amazed, but he commanded them to tell no one what had been done." And they have a reference to Isaiah 6:9 and Psalm 107:29 here. Where's that at? Sometimes the references are useful. Not sure where they're at. So let's see. So Luke chapter 9. Happy Sabbath, Ken. So we got Luke chapter 9. He called the 12 together and gave them power and authority over all demons and to cure diseases. See how it goes hand in hand. Demons, diseases. He sent them out to preach Yahuwah's kingdom and to heal the sick. He said to them, "Take nothing for your journey, no staves, nor wallet, nor bread, nor money. Don't have 2 tunics each. Into whatever house you enter, stay there, and depart from there. As many as don't receive you, when you depart from that city, shake off even the dust from your feet for a testimony against them." They departed and went throughout the villages, preaching the good news and healing everywhere. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was very perplexed, because it was said by some that John had risen from the dead, and by some that Elijah had appeared, and by others that one of the old prophets had risen again. Herod said, "I beheaded John, but who is this about whom I hear such things?" He sought to see him. The apostles, when they had returned, told him what things they had done. He took them and withdrew apart to a desert region of a city called Bethsaida. But the multitudes, perceiving it, followed him. He welcomed them, spoke to them of Yahuwah's kingdom, and he cured those who needed healing. The day began to wear away, and the 12 came and said to him, "Send the multitude away, that they may go into the surrounding villages and farms and lodge and get food, for we are here in a deserted place." But he said to them, "You give them something to eat." They said, "We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish, unless we should go and buy for all these people," for they were about 5,000 men. He said to his disciples, "Make them sit down in groups of about 50 each." They did so and made them all sit down. He took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to the sky, he blessed them, broke them, and gave them to the disciples to set before the multitude. They ate and were all filled. They gathered up 12 baskets of broken pieces that were left over. And as he was praying alone, the disciples were near him, and he asked them, "Who do the multitude say that I am?" They answered, "John the Baptizer, but others say Elijah, and others that one of the old prophets has risen again." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered, "The Christ of God." Christ means anointed or Messiah. But he warned them and commanded them to tell this to no one, saying, "The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and scribes, and be killed, and the 3rd day be raised up." He said to all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, to take up his cross and follow me. And also, I'll go ahead and share that while I'm here. So it's 46. Well, 46 is one. If you go to Book of Enoch, found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, quoted all over the New Testament. It is scripture. It's the first scripture. Read the Book of Jubilees. He's the first to write. There's a reason he was translated in Genesis, or taken. The first prophet. He prophesied of the end from the beginning. So you look here, chapter 40, chapter 46. The R.H. Charles is one of the best translations. I would get the 1913, not 17. And there I saw one who had a head of days, and his head was white like wool, and with him was another being whose countenance had the appearance of a man. We know from the book of Daniel who this is. That's the Father. And his face was full of graciousness like one of the holy angels. And I asked the angel who went with me, and showed me all the hidden things concerning that Son of Man, who he was, and whence he was, and why he went with the head of days. And he answered and said unto me, This is the Son of Man, who hath righteousness, with whom dwelleth righteousness, and who revealeth all the treasures of that which is hidden. What's it say in the New Testament? He reveals all things. Because the Yahuwah of spirits hath chosen him, and whose lot hath the preeminence before Yahuwah of spirits in uprightness forever. And this Son of Man, whom thou hast seen, shall raise up the kings and the mighty from their seats, and the strong from their thrones, and shall loosen the reins of the strong, and break the teeth of the sinners. And he shall put down the kings from their thrones and kingdoms, because they do not extol and praise him, nor humbly acknowledge whence the kingdom was bestowed upon them. And he shall put down the countenance of the strong, and shall fill them with shame, and darkness shall be their dwelling, and worms shall be their bed, and they shall have no hope of rising from their beds, because they do not extol the name of Yahuwah of spirits. And these are they who judge the stars of heaven, and raise their hands against the Most High, and tread upon the earth and dwell upon it. And all their deeds manifest unrighteousness, and their power rests upon their riches, and their faith is in the gods which they have made with their hands. And they deny the name of Yahuwah of spirits, and they persecute the houses of his congregations, and the faithful who hang upon the name of Yahuwah of spirits. So that's the Son of Man, the Messiah. You'll also see it in Mark, Matthew, and Luke. The prophet Ezekiel is also called a son of man, so it's not entirely the Messiah, but we know that in Enoch is talking about the Messiah, Yahusha. And we know Daniel's talking about the Messiah also. Let's see. You tie that together. Daniel 7:13, I saw in night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days. Here in Enoch says the head of days. And they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. Yeah, imagine seeing that up close and personal. The Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and scribes, and be killed, and the third day be raised up. He said to all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever will lose his life for my sake will save it. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses or forfeits his own self or soul? For whoever will be ashamed of me and of my words, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in his glory. That's what we just read about. And the glory of the Father and of the holy angels. But I tell you the truth, there are some of those who stand here who will in no way taste of death until they see Yahuwah's kingdom. About 8 days, and some will use that and say it already happened 2,000 years ago. But it's not happened yet. About 8 days after these sayings, he took with him Peter, John, and James, and went up onto the mountain to pray. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was altered, and his clothing became white and dazzling. Behold, 2 men were talking with him, who were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep, but when they were fully awake, they saw his glory, and the 2 men who stood with him. As they were parting from him, Peter said to Yahushua, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let's make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. While he said these things, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered into the cloud. A voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, listen to him. When the voice came, Yahushua was found alone. They were silent and told no one in those days any of the things which they had seen. On the next day, when they had come down from the mountain, a great multitude met him. Behold, a man from the crowd called out, saying, Teacher, I beg you to look at my son, for he is my only born child. Behold, a spirit takes him. He suddenly cries out, and it convulses him so that he foams. And what would modern medicine say to that? It'd be some kind of disease. They would not see the spiritual side. And it hardly departs from him, bruising him severely. I begged your disciples to cast it out, and they couldn't. Yahushua answered, Faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you and bear with you? Bring your son here. While he was still coming, the demon threw him down and convulsed him violently. But Yahushua rebuked the unclean spirit, healed the boy, and gave him back to his father. They were all astonished at the majesty of Yahuwah. But while all were marveling at all the things which Yahushua did, he said to his disciples, Let these words sink into your ears, for the Son of Man will be delivered up into the hands of men. But they didn't understand this saying. It was concealed from them, that they should not perceive it, and they were afraid to ask him about this saying. An argument arose among them about which of them was the greatest. Yahushua, perceiving the reasoning of their hearts, took a little child and set him by his side, and said to them, Whoever receives this little child in my name receives me. Whoever receives me receives him who sent me. For whoever is least among you all, this one will be great. John answered, Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him, because he doesn't follow with us. Yahushua said to him, Don't forbid him, for he who is not against us is for us. It came to pass when the days were near that he should be taken up, he intently set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face. They went and entered into the village of the Samaritans, so as to prepare for him. They didn't receive him, because he was traveling with his face set toward Jerusalem. When his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Master, do you want us to command fire to come down from the sky and destroy them, just as Elijah did? To me, that's hilarious. You want us to call fire down from heaven and destroy them? But he turned and rebuked them. You don't know what kind of spirit you are. So he didn't think it was very funny. For the Son of Man didn't come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. So you don't know what kind of spirit you are. So there's a difference. Elijah, different from the apostles. Both believers, but different spirits. the book of Second Ezra, it says that the ones to come later are weaker. Not sure if that applies to that or just stature and strength, or I can look it up right quick. Second Ezra, chapter 5. Which one is it? 5:55. Okay. Keep going. So you got Then I inquired and said, Since thou hast given now me the opportunity, let me speak before thee. Is our mother of whom thou hast told me still young, or is she now approaching old age? He replied to me, Ask a woman who bears children, and she will tell you. Say to her, Why are those whom you have borne recently not like those whom you bore before, but smaller in stature? And she herself will answer you, Those born in the strength of youth are different from those born during the time of old age, when the womb is failing. Therefore, you also should consider that you and your contemporaries are smaller in stature than those who were before you, and those who come after you will be smaller than you, as born of a creation which already is aging and passing the strength of youth. It says the last days would be Saul would in Moses it says that Saul would defeat Amalek in the last days. So from Saul to the end is the last days. So passing the strength of youth. And I said, O Yahuwah, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant through whom thou dost visit thy creation. And there's also a passage that says that the body is given to suit the size of the spirit, or something like that. But yeah, it ties in for sure. You don't know what kind of spirit you are. And he called down just want to read this. 2 King. Good opportunity to read this. Awesome passage. One of my favorite. So 2 Kings chapter 1. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahaziah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go, inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. But the angel of Yahuwah said to Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that you go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore thus saith Yahuwah, Thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. And when the messengers turned back unto him, he said unto them, Why are ye now turned back? And they said unto him, There came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, Go, turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sendest to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And he said unto them, What manner of man was he which came up to meet you, and told you these words? And they answered him, He was a hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, It is Elijah the Tishbite. What manner of man was he? You don't know what kind of spirit you are. And they answered him, Yep. And then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat on top of a hill. And he spake unto him, Thou man of God, Or man of Yahuwah, the king hath said, Come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of Yahuwah, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Wow. And the disciples read this passage, and they probably said the same thing. Wow. Again also he sent unto him another captain of 50 with his 50, and he answered and said unto him, O man of Yahuwah, thus hath the king said, Come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto them, If I be a man of Yahuwah, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And the fire of Yahuwah came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain of the third 50 with his 50. And the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of Yahuwah, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. Behold, there came fire down from heaven and burned up the two captains of the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of Yahuwah said unto Elijah, or the messenger of Yahuwah, the word, Go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. So they went to another village. As they went on the way, a certain man said to him, I want to follow you wherever you go, master. Yahushua said to him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. He said to another, Follow me. But he said, Yahushua, allow me, or Master, allow me first to go and bury my father. But Yahushua said to him, Leave the dead to bury their own dead, but you go and announce Yahuwah's kingdom. Wouldn't it be much easier to read if they hadn't messed with the names and stuff? Another also said, I want to follow you, Master, but first allow me to say goodbye to those who are at my house. But Yahushua said to him, No one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for Yahuwah's kingdom. So chapter 10, New Testament, so 9, Moses and Elijah. Enoch went to the Garden of Eden. Elijah went to the Garden of Eden. Did Moses? Yep, John answered, Teacher. Not master, teacher. And you got in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says teacher of righteousness. And John called him teacher. And that's interesting. It's missing from the manuscript. Huh. Chapter 10. Alright, so chapter 10. Now after these things, Yahuwah also appointed 70 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him into every city and place where he was about to come. Then he said to them, The harvest is indeed plentiful, but the laborers are few. Pray therefore Yahuwah of the harvest, that he may send out laborers into his harvest. Go your ways, behold, I send you out as lambs among wolves. Carry no purse, nor wallet, nor sandals. Greet no one on the way. Into whatever house you enter, first say, Peace be to this house. If a son of peace is there, your peace will rest on him, but if not, it will return to you. Remain in that same house, eating and drinking the things they give, for the laborer is worthy of his wages. Don't go from house to house. Into whatever city you enter, and they receive you, eat the things that are set before you. Heal the sick who are there, and tell them, Yahuwah's kingdom has come near to you. But into whatever city you enter, and they don't receive you, go out into its streets, and say, Even the dust from your city that clings to us, we wipe off against you. Nevertheless, know this, that Yahuwah's kingdom has come near to you. I tell you, it will be more tolerable in that day for Sodom than for that city. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works had been done in Tyre and Sidon, which were done in you, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon in the judgment than for you. You, Capernaum, who are exalted to heaven, will be brought down to Hades, or Sheol. Whoever listens to you listens to me, and whoever rejects you rejects me. Whoever rejects me rejects him who sent me. The 70 returned with joy, saying, Yahuwah, even the demons are subject to us in your name. He said to them, I saw Satan having fallen like lightning from heaven. Behold, I give you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. Nothing will in any way hurt you. Nevertheless, don't rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. In that same hour, Yahushua rejoiced in the Holy Spirit and said, I thank you, O Father, Master of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and understanding and revealed them to the little children. Yes, Father, for so it was well-pleasing in your sight. Turning to the disciples, he said, All things have been delivered to me by my Father. No one knows who the Son is except the Father, and who the Father is except the Son, and he to whomever the Son desires to reveal him. So is he revealed to the whole world? No. Does the whole world follow after his law? No. There's your clues. He said, many perish, few saved. Turning to the disciples, he said privately, Blessed are the eyes which see the things that you see, for I tell you that many prophets and kings desired to see the things which you see and didn't see them, and to hear things which you hear and didn't hear them. Behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? He answered, You shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. He said to him, You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live. What is written in the law? Do this and you will live. Plain. Straight up. Plain and simple. Guard his commandments. But he desiring to justify himself, this is where he messed up at, asked Yahushua, Who is my neighbor? Yahushua answered, A certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, which is maybe not a mess up. It's an honest question too, if he's wanting to know exactly. A certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who both stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. By chance a certain priest was going down that way. When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. In the same way a Levite also, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he traveled, came where he was. When he saw him, he was moved with compassion, came to him and bound up his wounds, and pouring on oil and wine, he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the host, and said to him, Take care of him. Whatever you spend beyond that, I will repay you when I return. Now which of these 3 do you think seemed to be a neighbor to him who fell among the robbers? He said, He who showed mercy on him. Then Yahushua said to him, Go and do likewise. As they went on their way, he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. She had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Yahushua's feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she came up to him and said, Master, don't you care that my sister left me to serve alone? Ask her therefore to help me. Yahushua answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed. Mary has chosen the good part, which will not be taken away from her. And what he quotes there is Deuteronomy 6:5 and Leviticus 19:18 for the commandments. So, yep. That right there is it. I'll show you where to get those. Or to look them up. Yeah, that's what you're... Nope, that's the wrong ones. If you're looking... This is what you're looking for right here. This one. Justin Van Rensburg. And you'll see that, and there's other ones. That's the ones you're looking for. There's another one. There's another one. Justin Rensburg. And Revelation, James, and Jude too. You can click on these pages and it'll bring up the other ones that should. Yeah, see all together. And There it is. There's Hebrew, Justin, and Michael Van Rensburg. Revelation, James, and Jude. So, very good. They do have a PDF on their website, so you can go to that. If you go to, say you want to go to John, that's the one I read today. You can go to the manuscript, and you go to the translation. And they point out some of the evidences. Good stuff. So, all right. Well, happy Sabbath. I hope that